Oh boy, Store Nation, have I got a little treat for you. Now, this episode did go on a little bit longer than we normally do these podcasts, but there was so much gold that I didn't want to stop Tommy talking. He is a fantastic individual, and it was an absolute delight and pleasure talking to him. And I feel like you're going to learn a ton. I learned a ton. It's Tommy Nguyen from StoragePug. Do you know what? Just listen to the episode. It was a long episode anyway. I nearly did it in two parts, but I thought, do you know what? What would you rather listen to? What would my audience rather have? Would they either have it one now or another one next week? If it was me, I just want it all straight away. So yeah, it's over an hour, but it's well worth your time. And he's just, in the nicest possible way, he's another storage geek. There's many of us around the world, and he's from America, and you learn so much in this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's basically the premise is all about leading with value. What can we do more for our customers? How can we exceed our customers' expectations? How can we surprise and delight our customers? And I genuinely love the fact that Tommy has the same approach as I do, and it's all about giving value, and then you will get that back, whether in terms of customers or whatever. You will always, if you provide the value, then you will get the opportunity. And hopefully that is what we're doing here. Enjoy the episode. It was a really good one. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor to speak to Tommy for so long. So without any further ado, here is Tommy from StoragePug. Thank you so much, Tommy, for your time. Appreciate you, man. See you later. Bye. Tommy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Welcome to Hacking Self-Storage, buddy.
Dean, I'm so happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
It's great to connect, buddy. I've been watching you from afar, and like we just said before I press record, I've genuinely been geeking out on your content. I absolutely love you. I absolutely love everything you put out. You're so happy, and I just think it's a breath of fresh air. So thank you so much, pal.
Yeah, man, and ditto to you. Like we've got a list of folks who put out good digital content. You're very high on that list, and we make sure we keep tabs on what our neighbors across the pond are doing, and you keep us posted. So I appreciate the kind of content you guys are putting out.
I appreciate that, buddy. So I'm going to start with a boring question. How did you get into self-storage? How did you stumble across it?
So I'll tell you the long version. I think we have a little bit of time together this morning. So I'll tell you, I don't normally tell this version of the story. So I was born in 1990 in Vietnam. So my family, we're from Vietnam, and we moved to America when I was a kid. I was basically a baby. We moved to America in 1992. And my mom at the time spoke no English. Had a third grade education, because in Vietnam, if you're poor, you don't go to school. Like that's just the standard. And especially if you're a girl, right? And this is when she grew up in the 70s. And so we moved to America, no English, no job, no education, and we struggled a lot, but we got a lot of help. And that was a cool thing, right? And so growing up, that was the status quo for me. Was just like, you got to work hard to make your way, because that was my mom. That was kind of the vision of what life is, and so eventually we made it to America. We made it to Knoxville, Tennessee, where I am now, and we became citizens of the United States, and which is, again, me as a kid going through all of these phases, it becomes the status quo, and you're just like, that's just the norm, right? But when I became an adult, like in my late teens, early 20s, I'm like, wow, Mom, you went through a whole lot, right? So anyways, fast forward a few years, I'm in school to be pre-med, so I was going to be a doctor. Wow. And my senior year in college, my wife was like, you do not want to do this, don't you're not very happy. and you mentioned I'm a happy guy. And she's like, you don't seem to be happy with this medical stuff. Why don't you do something you actually enjoy? And at the time, I was huge into computer science and like coding and hacking, right? Not hacking self-storage, but just like, modding and doing code stuff. And so at the time, I was like, okay, let's do it. So my senior year in college at University of Tennessee, I switched majors, and I switched from pre-med to computer science. So now that's when my self-storage story actually begins. I met my future partner in self-storage in college. And so I met both of them, I think my second year in computer science, and we became good friends. And then after graduating, I'd started a couple tech companies in town, and then like 2016, so four years ago now, we teamed up, and Matt was like, hey, my dad's got this facility here in Knoxville called Rocky Hill Storage. Y'all check it out. We got this facility, and he can't do online things. People can't log in and pay their bill, and the biggest thing was people can't find them. And it's a great looking, it's a beautiful facility. And I'm like, self-storage, that sounds kind of boring. As we all know from the outside looking in, it is kind of boring. And then I'm like, whoa, it's not just one facility. There's 200 facilities in Knoxville. And then we did some more research. I was like, oh, there's 55,000 facilities in the U.S. The market potential is huge. And so from that moment on, we decided, you know what? Let's stop everything else we're doing. We literally stopped all of our other projects and said, let's build a software as a service platform for self-storage. And that was it. So that was 4 years ago. And then that summer was when we decided to start StoragePug as an official company. And here we are 4 years later, man. It's crazy.
So you've never looked back.
That was the long version of the story. Sorry to take you down that path, but I wanted to make sure that we did. Luck played a lot in my journey to get here. Lucky to be born to an awesome mom. Lucky to come to America. Lucky to meet an awesome wife who encouraged me to find the thing that I loved, and then lucky to meet business partners who are just as committed and excited as I am about doing what we do. So.
Do you know what, Tommy? I'm so glad you said that. I've got a very, very successful friend in business, and he can't stand it when somebody says he's lucky or there's luck involved. And I'm exactly the opposite, because there's so many things that shape us and take us in different directions in life. And if you don't have them in your life, and it doesn't make you who you are. I always tell, I had my first self-storage, but then I couldn't find a second facility. And I'm one of these people who have got massive goals, and I want to be going upward trajectory all the time. And so I opened a restaurant. Oh boy, did it stink the place out. 18 months of absolute hell. It was the worst time of my life, but it was the best education that I've ever had. I would never be in the position I am now with a new home, a forever home, if I didn't have that bad experience. And I think luck plays a massive part into everybody's life, good and bad. But the trouble is, good and bad things happen to us every single day. But at the time, we don't know which is which. Like opening Lazo, the restaurant, I thought it was so unlucky. But do you know what? It was the most luckiest thing I've ever done. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me at the time. I thought it was the worst thing though. So StoragePug then, Tommy, what is StoragePug then?
So StoragePug is a made-for-self-storage website platform. We help people get the most out of their investments, right? Because, I mean, if you think about self-storage as an investment vehicle, right? Let's think about it, put our investor's hat on. What is it really? It's I'm about to get real dramatic about self-storage for a minute, but this is how we see it, and I know our operators and our clients see it the same way. It's their future, right? It's their future college fund for their children and grandchildren. It's their future vacation home. It's their future retirement vehicle for themselves, right? Where they can go relax in the mountains or the woods or wherever they want to relax. And that's really what self-storage is for the investor. For the operator, the person who's running it, it might be this month's mortgage payment, right? It might be paying some staff members to live their lives, right? And so self-storage provides in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And our philosophy on self-storage is that if it's easy, people will do it. As simple as that, right? And we've talked about this right before you hit the record button. It's like, yeah, some things are a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. But honestly, at the end of the day, with StoragePug, our platform is designed to help people get the most out of their investment. And we do so by giving you just this awesome modern website that is modern not only like in the way it looks, but modern and contemporary in the way that it feels, if that makes sense, right? So in the US, Shopify is a huge platform. Or is Shopify in the UK much?
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because Shopify is so huge, their shopping experience is kind of ubiquitous. Right? If you're buying something online and you found an ad on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, where you land is probably going to be a Shopify website, right? Or at minimum, you're going to be shopping on Amazon, or if you are in the market for a rental home or apartment, you might be on Airbnb. at least here in the United States, right? And so, and I think Airbnb is global now. So I'm sure you guys have it in the UK too.
We do,
yeah. So anyways, those shopping experiences is what you and I are used to, right, as consumers. But in self-storage, what we found to be the norm was a shopping experience that was familiar in 1997. Right? It's this really old, clunky way of using the internet. And we're like, that can't be real. Like, and so this was our research back in 2017, early 2017. We're like, is this really the status quo? These businesses are multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're using, like they're using bad, they're using bad tech to run this multi-million-dollar business. It blew our minds. So we decided, you know what? Let's turn that around and let's build modern tools for the modern consumer. Because if we make it easy for the consumer to rent, they're more likely to rent. That was our thesis from the beginning, and so far, whether it's luck or purpose, it's proven to be true.
Yeah. So StoragePug then it allows somebody to create a website, and do you have the ability then for the customer to do an online check-in and reservation and payments all under one roof then?
All in one place. Yeah. So that's part of the magic. So I guess for if I had to describe it for the investor or the person who owns the self-storage business, right? What we kind of allow that person to do is, like you said, build a website on our platform that's made just for self-storage. So you don't have to become a marketing expert to know what your website needs. The website already comes with everything you need. So that's part of the magic. And then the second thing for me as an operator is all of my inventory becomes available online. So if I wanted to let people shop or rent or pay, all that becomes available. So that's for the business owner. For the consumer, for the tenants, for the people like you and me who want to rent a unit, yes, we make it easy for them to rent, reserve, get a quote if they wanted to, get in touch, and of course log in and manage their unit online with a customer payment portal.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So isn't it great for people like me and you and other operators and other investors that you look around and you think, oh my goodness, I can't believe that website converts, that website or that business is actually doing over £1 million. But then I don't think that's a negative. I think that shows opportunity. I love that when I look around and think, I can't believe that somebody's running that business like that. And it's just a little bit of tweaking here and there, little 1%, 2%, but they make a massive difference. So therefore, there's still a massive opportunity. We was talking about this before we press record, and you're still very, very bullish about America then still moving forward with self-storage. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that then? Because everybody's talking about saturation point in the UK, and I'm saying, no. There's competition. It's not when, it's when competition comes. Competition will happen, and it's a growing market. People still aren't aware of self-storage in the UK. The general public still aren't aware. So there's going to be much more supply and demand. And so in America then, where do you see it going? And is it still going to expand? Is it still a positive for your industry across there?
Well, so here's what's crazy about this. So there's probably multiple angles. So I can't fathom UK being saturated. I don't know what that means, and I think I think you also see what I'm seeing. It's like, if you walk into Austin, Texas, here in America, or Charlotte, North Carolina, that to me is saturation, where you're literally standing here on a street corner and there's literally 4 or 5 storage facilities within eye distance. That is, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of battle scene that a lot of metro markets in the United States, that's what they're dealing with. I don't think we're at that level in the UK just yet.
Just to give you one stat, it's 0.7 square foot per capita per person on the average in the UK. In
0.7. So 0.7.
0.7, yeah. In London, obviously, the most dense population, the capital, it's 1.4. That is nowhere near saturation. In America, you're talking maybe 10 times more.
Oh, yeah, easy. So last time I fact checked this, it was like 8.7 square foot per person in the U.S. Now think about the U.S. as a massive piece of land, right?
Yeah.
That 8.7 accounts for the entire area of the United States. There's a lot of places in America where there's no humans for hundreds of miles. Yet that 8.3 accounts for that. Yeah, so when you think of saturation, but I do think of those metro markets. Why I'm bullish though, and why a lot of our operators who are using our platform are also equally bullish is in America, at least, there's this concept of people moving out of the big cities, out of the metro areas, because cost of living might be lower. Maybe not only cost of living, but standard of living in a way, right? Because maybe you are a woodsy person and you love hiking. There's lots of great places to do that, but maybe not in the big city, right? And so now with a lot of companies going remote, a lot of people having more flexibility, and to be honest, like just city living just not as enjoyable as people thought it might have been. I have many friends who moved to a big city because Knoxville is not a small city, but we're not a huge city either. We're kind of in between, but it's definitely no London. But let's say people move to a big city and then 6 months, 12 months later, they move back home because it wasn't what they thought it would be, right? So that exodus from the big cities has caused the secondary and tertiary markets to have an influx of new homeowners and new people who live in those markets. And guess what? What happens when people buy homes or move to a new city? They need storage, right? And then because these secondary and tertiary markets are not saturated. It's not the 8 square foot per person, in a secondary market. It's probably closer to 2 or 3, or maybe even less, depending on where you are. Those markets, those people who already own land, those people who already own real estate in those markets, they I guess they're privy to that information, and they get excited and they're licking their chops. So there's lots of market potential in outside of the metro areas. There are, but also, speaking of metro, there are still metro areas that is arguably still very full. So if you look at in America, there are 5 REITs. And Extra Space is one of them. I saw a stat. I think they ended 2020 with 94.2% average occupancy across their entire portfolio. And last time I checked, Extra Space had more than 1,400 locations in the U.S. So think about that. And a lot of their locations are in these metro markets. So if you're telling me that my average store is 95%, certainly demand is there, right? And so that's one angle from an investor's point of view. The other point of view is, I think 20 years ago, the stat was like 1 in 20 people knew about self-storage or used self-storage. It's now 1 in 10 families. And I think that stat is a little bit dated too. I grabbed that stat like from 2019. So in the last 2 years, surely that number is more. It's more than one out of 10. And so, but that sounds like a big number, 10%. But let's think about the 90% of people who have never touched or used self-storage, right? So more than likely, the customer who's shopping from you, Dean, has never used self-storage before. Now, that might be very true for the UK because storage is relatively a new concept there. But even in America, there's more likelihood that person that's calling you or visiting your website, they've never used storage before. So there's market education, there's demand generation, and of course, thirdly, the supply is, the demand is kind of already there. So you don't even have to generate demand, but if we wanted to, we could. So anyways, so that's how we at StoragePug view self-storage is like, yes, there's a lot of competition. Yes, there's a lot of facilities, but the growth is not going to stop anytime soon, is how we're reading the tea leaves.
Yeah, do you know what? I absolutely love that, because before I heard people in America say that you used to be able to open up a store anywhere and it would fill up because just people needed self-storage in America. But now even though it's become more popular, there's still opportunities everywhere. But as long as you do the right things right and you do your homework, you make sure you do a feasibility study, you make sure that you look at these secondary and tertiary markets as well. You make sure that you actually look into it rather than just open up anywhere. So the people in the UK listening to this, and I even now, I believe that you can get away with opening some bad locations, some bad areas, and still make money in the UK. However, I like to future protect my investment, because in 5 or 10 years' time, somebody's going to outposition you. And so what I want to do, I want to find those, not maybe A locations, but maybe B. I'm happy because I know that if I do everything correct, then I'm going to future-proof myself. So in terms of StoragePug then, who is your ideal avatar? Who do you look after? Who is your ideal customer?
Yeah, so I mentioned luck, and I'm glad I mentioned luck because I'm going to go back to it a lot. So we lucked in because our very first customer was our family, and so we already had a natural given avatar for us, and it is the independent operator who owns 1 to 5 facilities. Those are our favorite kinds of operators to work with because I think for StoragePug, we bring, if you think about value creation and then also value retention, we bring the most value for these operators and we help them retain the most value from their investments. And so that's again, we lucked into that because that was our very first customer. Now, if our very first customer had 100 facilities, we might have a different outlook on how on who we think we want to really, really help. But I there's a piece of my heart that wants to help the small guy, that I want to equip them with the best tools, with the best tech, with the best customer service to go and actually go kick somebody in their teeth, right? Like that's kind of the mental image that I have. It's like, you're the big guy, I'm the little guy. I don't care. I've got everything I need to dominate my market. And so that's kind of the mentality that we have. And so, yeah, our number one persona or avatar is that independent operator, has 1 to 5 facilities, most likely owns other real estate. So they know they know the real potential of having real estate, but they also know that self-storage as a class, the technology behind it is a little bit behind some of their other, because like if you own apartments or rental homes, there's great technology and software for those, for those kinds of real estate. But in self-storage, when we started anyways, it was a little bit behind. Now, though, I'm seeing lots of great options. And it's not just StoragePug that's doing stuff. I'm seeing lots of great companies, rolling out really, really cool tech and really, really cool platforms that help, folks get the most out of these investments.
Yeah, so do you help them with the operations as well? Because there might be new people coming in the industry and don't really understand self-storage. Do you actually help them with the sales process? Do you help them with marketing as well? Or is it just trying to focus on the website?
Well, so what I guess if you ask me what people pay us for, it's only just the website. But because of our, our wanting to like make other people happy and also want them to succeed, we spend the majority of our time creating content to help people operate better, to help people hire better, to help people treat their customers better. So we create tons of resources, including videos, and we bring on other experts to kind of share their perspective. We do a lot of Q&A with folks who are doing it right. So we focus a lot of our energy on education, and we think through education is how people get better. So what our people only pay us for their website, but they get this whole ecosystem of other experts, other owners, because we have our own little private Facebook group for owners and managers to get to know each other, and of course all the education content that lives on our resource center on our website. So we don't directly help them with operations and marketing and all of this, but indirectly they have all the tools they need to do it well.
That when I was going down the Tommy and StoragePug rabbit hole earlier today and late last night, I was literally looking at all your content. And I was like, wait a second. I was going back to your website thinking, that's what they offer. That's what they get paid for. But there's all this other branching out of content, and you guys literally know how to run a self-storage perfectly. And obviously, I know it's coming off like, oh, Tommy's on the podcast, I've been saying all nice things, but it's genuinely, I couldn't believe the stuff I was learning, educating myself. I was genuinely enjoying the stuff that you do on, is it GabFest? How did that come about?
Oh, you're warming my heart. Yeah, I'll tell the story of GabFest here in a moment. But on that point is, for us, it was like, if we want clients, so here's the thing. One bit of detail about getting into the storage industry that I left out. As an investment class, it is a long-term investment class for the most part, right? Yes. You don't buy a facility and flip it in 2 years and make a ton of money. That's not where the value creation is. The value creation is you buy this facility and you hold it for 30 years, right? Or forever, right? That's really where the value creation comes in as a private investor. So for StoragePug, we see it the same way. I want to be 80 years old and like have built this amazing company that people love to work at, and that we're providing great value for the people who use our software. Like that's my legacy that I want to stamp on the earth, right? And so for that reason, I wanted to make sure that our clients who use our services that they have the best pathway for their own success, because it's not going to help me if you go out of business in 8 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of self-storage operators, brand new operators, they think they know everything because they're smart people. But it turns out self-storage is actually a little bit more complicated. Or maybe not complicated, but it's a little bit different than owning apartments or owning office space, right? And so we decided, you know what? If we want our clients to succeed long-term, for us to succeed long-term, let's, not only should we provide good service and good websites, let's actually teach them the stuff that they may not already know or think about. So anyways, so that's kind of the concept behind it. But GABFest was kind of a culmination of all of that. So in the United States, and I think the UK, so in the UK, what is the main association? Is there a
self-storage association?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So in the is it related to the United States version of the Self-Storage Association? Are they linked?
I don't actually know. I don't think it's, well, as far as I know, people will be shouting at the screen saying, yes, of course it's related. As far as I know, I didn't know there's any connection.
Okay. Well, ours is selfstorage.org. It's the Self-Storage Association. They put on huge shows every year, and they, during the pandemic, or right at the beginning of the pandemic, we were getting emails of like, hey, we might cancel. So this was like February last year. And then at the end of February, we got the official notice that, hey, we're canceling the show. And so here I am thinking, okay, trade shows and conferences are literally the number one source of where I meet new customers, literally, right? And so, of course, we meet a lot of people online and all of this. People come to our website, and that's all gravy. But I love the handshakes and kisses and the hugs, like that. That's the kind of person that I like to be. And I didn't get to do that, right? And so, and so we're like, okay, well, what do we do? So Ryan, on my team, he's our sales development manager. He's like, what if we hosted a virtual conference? It's like, oh, okay. And so this was March 12th. 5 days later, we would host an event. So in 5 days, we planned this entire massive event. We had 30 plus speakers. I think we ended up exchanging like 140 emails. It was insane, but we got it. So we did an all-day, 7-hour live stream nonstop, and I hosted it with Melissa Huff. She runs a management company called Affordable Storage Guys, and Stephanie Tharp, who runs a management company called A Plus Management. And that was one of the most fun days. So that was literally just a year ago. We just had our anniversary of GABFest. And that was just insane. I think we had nearly 1,000 people show up. It was totally free. And that was the other thing that I wanted to keep pure, was we wanted this to be a free event. We wanted this to be as as easy to attend as possible. And the other thing was we got the backing and support of all the state associations as well. I think I think it was 10 or 11 different states help co-promote the event. So it was crazy. That was a lot of fun. I never want to do that again, though. I never want to plan an all-day event in 5 days. Next time we do it, I want to do the event again, but not the way we did it. As much fun as it was. And then GABFest turned into a series called Gab Focus, which we decided, you know what, GABFest was a lot of fun. The attendees seemed to have an enjoyable time. So we decided, what if every couple weeks we would host a guest speaker and we asked them questions and they answer them. So that was basically the concept. And so we asked some of the attendees, and we're like, hey, would that be a cool format? And they're like, absolutely, that'd be a cool format. And so we did. And so then we've hosted over 30 different Gab Focus sessions since last year, and we just had one a couple weeks ago. So yeah, so anyways, the virtual stuff was just really incredible, because it served my need to get in front of people and be excited. But it also served our owners' needs for networking. Because these conferences and trade shows is not just about meeting your future vendors and your suppliers. It's about meeting other owners and operators. And without trade shows, they didn't get an opportunity to do that. And we were hopeful to, we were glad to be able to create an event that allowed people to do that. So we average over 100 people every month come out to the live event. And then there's hundreds of other viewers who actually view the event after it goes live on demand. So it's just, Dean, it's so much fun.
So Tommy, I've got two questions then. One, is the ISS show going to continue in July? Will that be open in Vegas?
As far as I know, it is. We've got a lot of our folks already booking their tickets to Vegas.
I'm hoping to come, but the government here, because I love going every year. We take my family, I take my mum, my dad.
That's wild.
My wife and my two kids come, and we just make a holiday of it. I absolutely love it. But the government here have said that anybody goes on holiday, you get fined £5,000 at the minute because you're not allowed out of the country. And
what?
So, but it's for work. So I don't know if we're allowed to. I don't know if we're going to get fined. But yeah, I was wondering if it was still on. And when all these conferences open back up, then will you still be doing GabFest now? Have you got the bug? Do you love it?
I got the bug and I love it. I think so. We've got the whole rest of the year scheduled. We've got every, I think once a month. I think officially it's the third Thursday of every month. We've already got a speaker set up and we've already got the topic picked out. And I think we're going to continue this, in the future and beyond, as long as people find value in it and as long as people come out and enjoy the content. And as long as there's things to talk about, I think we're going to keep doing it. Even when in-person conferences come back. Yep. Now we're excited about we've already got several in-person conferences booked. We've got the Florida one that's in May, the Nashville one. So the SSA is doing their conference in Nashville this year. So we're going to be doing Nashville, and then there's a handful of others I can't wait to get back out there.
There's definitely a place for virtual as well. I mean, people do miss, obviously, in person, but there's definitely a place for the virtual as well. I think that there's definitely a need for it, there's a want for it, and there's a demand for it. So yeah, I think you should carry on, keep doing it. In terms of content, I look at content as you're giving something out there, but you always get opportunities back. Just this morning, somebody got in contact with me who listens to the podcast and said, "Hey, Dean, just so you know, there's a fantastic location coming up in Scarborough. It's not on the market yet, but it will be soon. I wonder if you was interested." And Scarborough may or may not be the next place we're going, but we always get opportunities like that because I'm not doing it because we get opportunities, but when you put content out there and you help people and you always, something good always happens. So I love the fact that you're playing the long game. You're not playing the short game. You're not looking for an ROI on every single GabFest that you do. It's a long game. You're positioning yourself as an authority. You're positioning yourself to help people. And long term, that is only going to help you and help sales and help the customers as well. So it's a win-win-win. Everybody wins.
Everybody freaking wins. No, that's it, right? And whether we don't think about it on an individual basis, exactly like you said. It is very much a long-term thing, and I think it's the thing where if you give and give and give, eventually you get given back, and it's like, and even if you don't, that's okay. But I think that concept of just like, let's just create cool stuff that people enjoy, that people find helpful. Yes, and then to that point about the demand for virtual, I think the demand is very real for one reason. We did a study or a survey a few months ago, and so many of the managers, not the owners, but the managers of these facilities, I never get to go to the trade shows because I'm running the operations, or we can't afford to send me for 4 days. Because I get that, right? Because most of these managers, they're the only employee, and to think about sending your only employee to Vegas for 5 days. Who's going to run the store at home? And so we got a lot of touching stories like that. Like, this was my first opportunity to listen to education. And it's like, oh my gosh, you've been in the industry for 12 years and you never got a chance to go to an education event. And so those touching stories really impacted me. I was like, yeah, we can't stop this. We got to keep it going. And that's from the manager's point of view. And then from owners, I've heard from owners, it's like, yeah, we actually now use Gab Focus as our training material for all new hires. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Really? Wow.
Yes! And it's like, that was never even part of my dream. We just thought, let's create cool stuff that people enjoy. But now I've gotten so many emails of hey, Tommy, can you send me that link to that one session you did with Stephanie? Because I want all my managers to watch it. I'm like, that really warmed my heart. So for those reasons,
forever.
We
They're
got to
going to
keep
be
going.
customers forever. They really are, because they're going to appreciate you and what you've done, and they're going to stay with you for a long, long time, buddy.
Yeah, it's so yeah, like you said though, it's such a win-win-win. Everybody, it's a lot of winning going around.
Yeah, I know people are going to be screaming saying, Dean, you've got a website expert on here. I want to improve my conversions. Let's talk about websites. So I've got a few questions about websites.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Number one, what's the biggest mistake you see people make with a website?
Oh,
That's the biggest mistake I made. That when I first started storage, I didn't put my telephone number on. This was 8 years ago. I didn't have my frigging telephone number on my website. I was like, oh my God. I didn't even realize until somebody pointed out to me in an email. I was like, oh my God, you can't see what you can't see.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's the number one mistake. You go to a website and I cannot find information about this business. Think about this, right? If you were to let's not think about self-storage. Let's think about going out to eat. Let's go to a restaurant. Let's say you what do you care about when you go to a restaurant's website? Maybe their hours, maybe their specials, maybe what they, their menu. What if that restaurant, and their address and phone number, what if that website didn't have that information? Why even have a website for your restaurant if it didn't have that information? In self-storage, we see so many websites that don't have the phone number, don't have the address. They have the P.O. box, they have the post office box, but not the actual physical address. And then the third thing is they don't have any pricing or information about the product that they offer, right? And so think about that. You're not going to convert anybody if you don't educate the customer.
Yes.
Right? You and I just went through the last 10 minutes talking about educating customers, and that's a big part of our conversion for StoragePug is like, yeah, I want to educate you and I want you to fall in love with the kinds of things that we do. And then when it's time for you, when your need arises, you're only going to think of StoragePug. That's part of that inbound mechanism. But yes, the number one mistake that self-storage webs or operators make when they launch a website is they don't put the information that customers actually care about on the website. But no, there's a second mistake that's equally as common though, and we still see this is I don't know what the stats are worldwide, but I know in the U.S. over 60% of users come from one of these devices, little smartphones or big smartphones, 60%. And if your website isn't designed for this user first, you're missing out on more than half of your potential traffic, which is insane to think about, right? And so if you're completely thinking only about your desktop or your computer, you're missing out. And so this was a bigger problem, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, but we still see that pretty prevalent today of somebody launching a brand new website that isn't designed for an easy experience online on a mobile device. So those are the top two that we see when it comes to really dinging your conversions. Those are the top two mistakes.
Yeah. And what must you have in a website then? Because for me, I obsess over my website because I really do believe if I can, do you know what? I doubled my conversions just by changing the button to contact us. That's all I did was change the color of a button and it doubled the amount of inquiries we got. And I spend an awful lot of money on my storage website because I know it's my shop front. People spend a lot of money designing a shop front, but why wouldn't you do the same for your internet business? It's your shop front. It's where your first point of call, where the customer judges you straight away. And so if you've got to spend money on it, you've got to spend money on it. I actually spent 10 grand on my website, Tommy, to get it working, make sure it was as perfect as it can be. And yeah. So what to you were the most important things of a website, a good converting website?
Well, so I think of it as the whole, I guess all the individual parts is more than the sum of all the parts. Am I saying that phrase right? So like if you add up if you do every part well, you get more, the benefits actually multiply and some of the benefits are exponential. Like you said, a button is not just a button. If you make the button correct, that call to action becomes way more useful, right? And in your case, you just changed the color. And I think Extra Space published a study several years ago that they changed their colors either from orange to blue or blue to orange. Whatever it was, they increased their conversions by 3 or 4 fold. And so it's like the components add up to become something that's way more than just a website, right? Because you're, like you said, your website isn't really just a website. It's your marketing engine, it's your sales engine, it's how you make money, right? And especially if you're running your operation with limited staff or remote staff, right? It's probably the only way that your customers can rent from you. So you got to have all the pieces. So that's it. The key pieces, if I had to pick, there's so many pieces. I can keep count. I don't have enough fingers. But if I had to say three things, three key components of a highly converting website. Number one, you got to have calls to action in the right places. And the calls to action should always be to commit to working with me. Rent now. Check our rates, right? Because that you want to drive your consumers into your funnel, and your funnel should get tighter and tighter and tighter as they go down the funnel into, hey, here's my credit card, I want to rent from you, right? And so number one is having that call to action be very clear, very concise, and then repeat that call to action everywhere on every page, and sometimes multiple times per page. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I cannot stress enough, this has nothing to do with me, photos. Dean, you and I know this, when especially if you're researching other facilities to potentially buy, it's like it's got a super pixelated photo that's this big and you can't even know what you're looking at, right? Photography and videography these days make a huge difference to the consumer, because you think about their shopping experience. They're on Amazon. They're used to looking at the photos of the products that they're buying on Amazon. They're on Shopify. It's the same thing. They're on Airbnb. They've got all these photos to look at the apartment that they're about to stay in for 2 weeks in Vegas as they go to the ISS show, right? And so for those reasons, we are very visual shoppers. And if you're about to decide on a storage operation or a storage facility to store your valuables and your belongings, and you can't see that it's secure, you can't see that it's got a great location, it's well lit, you can say all of those words, don't get me wrong, but if you don't show those things, you're really missing out, and customers will just hit that back button and go to the next competitor. So that's a huge missing piece. And then the third piece, this sounds obvious, but believe me, it's not. Having an easy rental experience where the customer stays on your website. Social security number to rent a unit. I mean, maybe that's a policy of yours, but online you don't need to do that, right? Just make it easy for me. Grab the core essential information and then let me go on my way. So those are the three things that I think are critically essential for every storage website, and that's having strong calls to action, having beautiful photography or videos, and then of course having a super easy rental experience. And of course I can probably keep going, but if you made me pick three, those would be the three that I picked.
Yeah, I love that. And we do that because I'm a great believer, exactly what you said about pictures, because you're lifting the veil. You're letting the customers see what they're buying. And do you know what? It really frustrates me in England that people put different pictures on in the UK that aren't their facility. And I'm like, what are you doing? And it looks like it's amazing facility. But when you get there, you're like, well, that's not what I signed up for. And some of my competitors in Hull do that. And I'm like, that'll only work for so long, because you're tricking the customers. And when you're tricking the customers, you will never, ever get the rewards. Well, you get the rewards that you deserve, but you'll never, ever get to the pinnacle. What we do as well is we have Bonjoro, because we like to create a connection between someone. So when a Bonjoro is a video application, I don't know if you've heard of it before. So it's literally a 20-second video that the manager or the sales guy or girl does, just says, hi, I'm Angela. Hi, I'm James. Thank you very much for your quote. What we're doing now is we're just going to give you a ring in 10, 15 minutes or something. See if you've got any questions. I'm here to help, just so that they know who we are. And so they can actually just, again, lift that veil a little bit more and have a little bit more of a connection between us and the customer, because that's what it's all about, creating connections, creating the relationships. And when they trust you, then they're more likely to rent from you. And another quick thing that we do as well is we have Hotjar. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. So we can actually see exactly what the customer does and the customer journey. So we can see exactly where they go on the website. Are they clicking here? Are they not going? Are they scrolling down? At what point did they leave our website? And then we know that we need to either double down on what's working, or we need to change what's not working. So for me, they're just a little couple of tips. I appear to have lost Tommy at the very, very end of the podcast. I've seemed to. Where the heck has Tommy gone? I don't know if it's the internet connection or what, but what I'll do is I'll press pause and I'll try and get Tommy back. So we've got Tommy back. I was like, where's Tommy gone? Is Tommy gone? Where's he gone? Oh no, I don't know if it's my connection or your connection. Oh, blooming internet. So I was just, I know that the listeners have heard what I've just been saying now, but just for Tommy's benefit. So what we do is we do Bonjoro. We do a 20-second video lifting the veil because we want to create relationships, subconscious relationships between our customers and our members of staff. And so what happens is then we send that email across to them and they can literally say, it's, hi Dave, thank you so much for having a quote with us. My name's Angela. If you've got any questions whatsoever, then, please feel free to reach out. And obviously we do a sales process anyway, follow-up calls, etc. But we position it in such a way that they can see our building, they can see our reception, they know what they're going to get. And another thing that we do as well is that because I'm a devil for the detail in my website, but we've got a software called Hotjar. I don't know if you've ever heard of Hotjar. So many people haven't heard of it, and I love it because you can actually see what's working on your website, what's not, where you're losing people, where they're actually disconnecting with your website. So if you can improve those little bits and keep people scrolling, keep people learning, keep people educated on your website, on self-storage, and the longer they're on your website, the more they're engaged with your content, the more likely they're going to convert into customers. And so many people don't spend that little bit of time just to have Hotjar. And there's a free version as well, which is perfectly good enough. And you can see your improvements. You can see how many people scroll past the first little section. Or, it's so critical for me. Them two little tweaks that you can do, but make a big, big difference to your conversions.
Oh, huge difference. No, Hotjar is an incredible tool. We've used it for years. We've used a combination of lots of different analytics tools to understand if the website's converting or not, right? So we're at a place where on the website we can now start running analysis on the types of colors that are on a website and run those versus conversion numbers. But not just colors, we're talking components, because the way that we build our websites are we built a component system, a component library. So let's say we have a reviews component that shows your Google reviews on the website, right? We can look at across all the websites on the platform and see how many conversions there are that use that component versus conversions that are not using that component. And so we can start really looking at this aggregate data. And what's cool about this is for the storage operator who doesn't want to know how to do any of that, you don't have to, right? Because that's why we exist. We're the tech nerds behind the scenes. We're going to figure this out for you, right? Yeah. Yeah, but for the operator who just who's a DIY, wants to do it yourself, absolutely, Dean. Yeah, Hotjar, there's Lucky Orange. There's a handful of tools out there that have relatively affordable to free in some cases ways to just you can see actually how people use your website. And you said something that I thought was really, really good. Having customers stay longer on your website increases their chance to convert on your website. That's a crazy simple concept to say in words, but it really becomes just a numbers game, right? It's like, now don't think about the converting event. Think about, how can I keep this person on my website longer?
How can we help them?
Yes. So I love that thought, and I love that concept.
And testimonials as well. I know that you've mentioned testimonials, that people don't ask for testimonials. So many people don't ask for testimonials. Our big flagship site has been open 4 years, and we're against a big national REIT, and we've got more. They've been open 10 years longer than us, and we've got more reviews on every single platform than they have, purely because we focus on it. We ask customers, we ask them when they leave. And something you said that was fantastic on one of your Gabfests was that you don't have to ask everybody. You have to ask the customers that are going to reciprocate and give you a review. Because if they've had, for whatever reason, and it's few and far between, I know, but if they've had a bad experience in some way, shape or form, guess what? We just don't ask them people. But you've got to ask the other people. You've got to ask for that review, that testimonial, because it makes a big, big difference on your website to social proof. And so many people overlook it.
Oh my gosh, it really does. Yeah. So, I gave you 3, but if I were to give you 11, social proof is number 4. Really though, because it should only be number 4. It should be above the fold, right? It should be everywhere. Yes. So on the websites that our operators use on our platform, we literally put the reviews on every page possible. So when you see it on the homepage, you see it on the units page, you see it as you're renting,
those 5 stars, those 4.8 stars, and we actually integrate with Google and Yelp and Facebook to pull in the reviews right there on the page.
Yep.
So so as a shopper, I can see what other people are saying. It's such a critical thing. Social proof is such a big deal. I mean, think about the way that we all shop. We all read reviews. Before I buy anything on Amazon, I'm going to read a few reviews just to make sure that this thing is going to do what I want it to do, right? And so I think consumers are the same way. But you made a great point there about asking the customers that you know are going to do it. I have this opinion about customers. Almost all of them, if not all of them, really want you to succeed as a business. Otherwise, they wouldn't give you money, right? And so because of that relationship, right? Because that it's very cyclical, they're giving you money so that you can succeed. You want to provide a service for them to succeed. And if that relationship is as cyclical and as reciprocal as I just said, you're going to get reviews, right? And so that reinforces your values and reinforces your customer service when you're talking to a customer. And then after you're done with that transaction, it's as simple as asking them, hey, Dean, I would love it if you go here and leave me a review. In fact, let me text you this link right now on your phone, and you can just click on that link and off you go, right? And so I think that business relationship is I'm very optimistic in that sense, because I wouldn't give somebody money if I didn't think they're going to bring me value, or if I didn't think that they're going to be successful long term. If I think, Dean, you're going to go out of business next month, I'm going to go to your neighbor down the road, right? And so I think because of that optimism, that as long as you harness it, I think you can get better reviews, you can get better returns, and all of these things that go well. So that's kind of our take on business.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And for those people listening who are thinking, what the hell is above the fold? Above the fold is what you see when you first land on that website. So the thing is that people believe that you're going to see everything that's on that webpage. They don't. You will see, when you use a tool like Hotjar, you'll see that so many people literally only land on the above the fold, and then you'll see as soon as you press that scroll, you will start losing a certain amount of percentage of visitors come on your website. So the way you guarantee that somebody sees your reviews or something is put it above the fold. But you've also got to be very, very careful not to cluster it and have too much information in it, because if there's too much, people can't see it. So so it's a fine line. Listen, StoragePug, is it available in the UK? Can UK customers use it?
Not at the moment, mostly because we don't know anyone in the UK except for you now. So that's it. So at the moment, we're not in the UK yet, but that could change. We're not purposefully not in the UK. But that said, I think the reason being is we're focused. I mean, we mentioned earlier about avatars and personas. I think because we have such a tight definition of who our customer is, it does include being in the U.S. because we happen to be in the U.S. and we know local SEO. We know U.S. markets extremely well. I know how to write a zip code in the U.S. I don't know what UK zip codes look like, right? And so because we don't know another country, even in Canada, we're purposely at the moment not in Canada, because Canada does things a lot different than the U.S. even, right? Even though they're just our neighbors to the north. So for that reason, we're focused on the U.S., but be on the lookout. I would not be surprised to see a StoragePug Pug Pack member in the UK in the near future.
well, luckily, we have loads of American listeners as well. It is literally 50-50. The people.
Oh, wow.
I think that my personality is more tailored to it, because I'm a bit like excited and stuff, and I think the Americans seem to accept me more. So it's 50-50. It's just a little bit more in the UK, but yeah, it's 50-50. So if one, just as a final question for me then, if a storage owner came to you and said, look, can I have one bit of advice, what would you say to them?
If I could give you one advice, can I give you 2 pieces of advice?
Yes, of course you can.
Okay. So advice number 1 is more tactical. Do this today. Get on business.google.com. Make sure that your business is listed there, because if it's not, then you don't exist, basically. But if you do exist, go optimize it. Make sure that every field, every question is answered. Google is going to help you show up higher if you do all the things that Google is offering you to do. What I'm talking about is Google actually lets you put your units on Google
for free. You can actually list all of your units or your popular ones on Google for free.
That's a great tip.
Like, think about that. You can have a free place to show your inventory. Do that, please. And of course, Google My Business is also where you get your reviews, or the number one place to get reviews. So if I can give any business owner tactical advice in the self-storage industry, go do that, because I promise you, whether you're in a super saturated market in the UK where you've got 0.7 square foot per person, or you're in Austin, Texas, where it's literally 10 plus per person, customers are going to go to Google to find you first, right? And then the other thing is, your neighbors might not be hearing this same advice, and I promise you, their listing is not optimized. They may have 2 reviews, and you could have 10 and rank higher than them. So do the thing on Google My Business. We've got a playbook. If you want our opinion on it, we've got a whole playbook. It's like a 40-page guide on how to do it. Check it out online. So that's number one. But if I had to give like business advice, number 2, take the time to think about every element that your customer touches, right? And this was my challenge, Thursday challenge, I think last week or the week before. Think about every opportunity that your customer experiences your business. It starts online, right? It starts with your reputation and social proof that Dean and I talked about. So they don't even see your facility yet. And then Dean, you mentioned a great point. If you're going to post photos of your facility so that the customer isn't surprised, right? And so think about that experience. When I'm driving up into your facility, what do I see? A lot of times people think about improvements when it comes to the facility, as in websites and roofs and doors. Think about your lawn, your landscaping, and like think about your signage, because those are the minor and the mini conversion moments and the mini experiences that your customers have of your business. And then further, think about the rental experience. How do I rent from you? Is it easy? Is it hard? Is it like going to the dentist, or is it like going to Amazon? Hopefully it's like going to Amazon, right? And then after I've rented from you, what's my experience like there? How often do you touch me? How often do you ask me to leave you a review? When I move out, what's that experience look like? Do you make it hard for me to move out? Because if so, stop doing that, please. Right. And so that's, that's probably my second bit. And that's something that we're talking with a lot of operators, especially during the slow season. Right now, although we're about to go into the busy season, but during the slow months from like November to February, those are all the little things that operators can think about, that when March comes around, when April comes around, they're going to be 10%, 20%, 50% better than their competitors. So that's how you compete. It's just to do better.
Do you know what? I love that, because sometimes you got to do the things that don't scale, because people don't like doing the things that don't scale. Like I literally write a letter to every single customer that moves in. I've got a postcard, a thank you postcard with my store looking on it. And what I want my customers to feel guilty that when somebody asks them about self-storage, if they don't mention my name, they'll feel guilty. And so we give them wine every now and again. We just give them a bottle of wine, just say thank you for being a customer. We send them a thank you letter, a thank you postcard, and it's just those little touches that then, when the need storage again, because 11% of my customers are returning, and so I know that they're not going to go anywhere else. They've got that relationship with me, and I want them to be a walking, talking billboard of my facility. And if you can get, 25% of our move-ins comes from either customer recommendation or they've used us before. 25% of move-ins.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's insane. Wow. Yeah, no, I love that.
People are missing out on. And so, you've got to do the things that don't scale. You've got to do the things that other people aren't willing to do. And that's how you stand out. And that's how you have customers. And you're not just customers. You build a relationship. They become fans. They become friends. And it's more than a transactional relationship. There's something deeper there. And it's nicer as well. Because can you imagine coming to work with people that actually like you and you like them? Why wouldn't you create that? Why do you have to wait? And just as soon as they leave, it's the end of a relationship. You want to continue that relationship, and you want to be there whenever they need you. So I'm a massive believer in putting customers first, because they're the blood of your business. They're the heartbeat of your business.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, exactly. Right. And it's like, if someone is willing to do business with you,
going that extra mile is worth it every time, right? And some of our best operators do things like they give them a gift basket. They put a gift basket in their unit. But think about that. I don't know the last time you stayed at a vacation home. My wife and I stayed at a beach house recently, and we went there. We weren't expecting it, but it was there. They had a basket with a bottle of wine, some fancy crackers, right? And a nice handwritten note from the owner. And it's like, we weren't expecting that, but that was such a lovely touch. And it was probably a $2 bottle of wine, and we didn't care, right? It was the fact that they stopped to do that. And that felt really special to us. And think about, so like, yeah, it just becomes so powerful when you think about what your customers see during their journey around your business or into your business. So no, that's cool that you do the handwritten note, Dean. I love that so much.
Yeah, and just one of the things, I know we're pushing on time now, but one of the things that we're just testing at the minute is so when somebody puts a house up for sale, when it's actually sold, we get an alert from Rightmove, and we've got this company who actually sends a postcard with your details on. And then so they said, look, how do you want to design it? Because we're going to test it. Obviously, the house is sold. They definitely need some packaging material. Whether they need storage or not, I don't know. And so what we did was we designed this postcard, saying free moving basket, free moving bundle for you, worth £35. And what it was it don't cost us much. It costs us maybe £11 something. It costs us. And there's tape in there. There's boxing. There's I don't know. There's a felt pen. There's all things that you need for moving. And when she got it back, she said, "But then you're not advertising your company. Where's your offers?" I said, "I don't want to start the relationship saying, hey, there's what we offer. Do you need us? Here's storage. I want to give them something first because I want to build that relationship up. And whether they use it or not, it doesn't matter because we're giving them something first of all. And then, I mean, can you imagine when somebody said, oh, do you know storage? Well, actually, yeah, I do. I actually popped in there because it was giving me some free stuff that they knew I'd need for moving. And so you're just top of mind all the time. And it's them little bits that most people don't do. They're too busy trying to sell the customers. And really, you've got to give value first. If you lead exactly like what you're doing with GabFest, I love that because it speaks to everything that I love about business. And so many people just try to go for the short gain, the quick buck, and it's a long-term gain. And when people understand that, then the relationships are different, the offers are different, how you interact with your customers is completely different. So if you take a long-term view, listen, Tommy, I've kept you so long, buddy. I've really enjoyed this. I've got five questions for fun, buddy, and I'll leave you alone. What's the best advice you have ever received?
Ooh, best advice I ever received. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it because this is how I live my life. and it really means a lot to me. So like, it's okay to like really mess up. Like I'm talking like royally mess up. And as long as you it's not how you messed up that ends up mattering. Although that's probably the thing you'll remember the most. It's what you do the next. It's that next step because it's puts you on this crazy trajectory, right? Because it's that's kind of scary to hear. Right, is like that first step is the thing that it sets you off in the trajectory, but it's really that first step, right? And so I heard this when I was in college, and it's like, yeah, you just gotta just take that first step. And hopefully that you've done the research and advice and heard from smarter people than you, so that when you do take your first step, that it's a well-educated first step. But it's all about taking that first step, because if you don't, then you're just going to be stuck where you were. And I that's kind of how I live my life now. It's like, yeah, if it's not done, let's get it done. If it hasn't been built, let's go build it. And that's kind of the mentality that we have here.
Yeah, take that first step. I love it. What's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Ooh, daily habit. That's a good question. What am I doing these days that, you know what? I don't know if this directly contributes to my success, but this is something that I do that is extremely not scalable. But I promise to return emails, every email that I receive within 10 minutes. And if I don't return the email in 10 minutes, you won't hear from me. So that's the thing. So I make sure I get all, but what that does for me internally for me is that everything that's important to me, I do right away. And if it's not important to me, then I don't even think about it.
at the end of the day. So like that's, so I've really compartmentalized the really high priority things and all the other noise that doesn't matter to me. And so sometimes that hurts people's feelings when I don't respond forever. But all the people who engage with me, at least via email, know that they're going to get a response very, very quickly if they email me.
Yeah, that's one thing where I've got to improve my emails. I've literally said this year I won't miss out anybody's email because I get so many emails asking questions, asking advice and stuff. And because I took the time to email me, I feel bad that I don't email straight away or something. So I go through my emails. So today, my next job after this is to go back through my old emails that I received yesterday. And so I'm getting quite good at it now. Recommend one book.
One book. Okay, so there is a book that our team is actually reading right now. It's called, I think the book is called Switch, is the book. And the idea behind the book is it's about change management, and it's like how to change when change is hard, right? Is the idea of the book. We've just started it, and I'm telling you, it's a book written by the brothers Chip and Heath and Dan Heath. They also wrote the book Made to Stick, which I thought was a great book as well. But if you're in an organization and you're working with other team members, I think this is a great book to understand the behind the scenes of how people think of change and new processes. Because as the person creating the process, change is the status quo. Yeah. But for other people to adapt, it's a little bit harder, and it's way harder than you can even fathom. That's what I'm learning, anyways. And so we started reading this book, and I love it so much already that I'm recommending it. So it's called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. What scares you?
Ooh, what scares me? What really scares me, and I think the thing that keeps me up at night is, what if the thing that we're doing today stops providing value, right? Like what if our clients, what if the thing that we're building is not the thing that is bringing the most value to our clients? That's the thing. That's what keeps me up at 3 a.m. thinking like, okay, what's the next thing we can build, right? And so like I think complacency is probably the thing that scares me. Is like, how can we make sure that as a company we constantly just continue to, maybe not innovate's probably the too big of a word here, but how can we continue to iteratively improve so that we're, so that what we're doing well today is actually no longer good enough. And how do we like bake that into our culture? And I think we've done a great job of that so far. But now that we've got a team of 18 people, as we grow from 18 to 40 to 50 to 100, how do we continue to keep that spirit with, when we hire our 19th pug, our 20th pug, how can he or she understand that spirit? And I think that's scary to me, that we might lose that, because big companies lose that, right? Almost every big company loses that mentality, and that's scary. And but also I think, as luck would have it, I think when we get to that level, I'm hopeful that we hire really smart people that help steer the ship, but also help teach me things that I don't know today. So that's what scares me is watching our company get to a place where we become complacent. Like I said, I that's not where we are today, but that scares me to think that could be a future that we're very much avoiding.
But the fact that you're aware of that, I would suggest that because you're aware of it and so aware of it, that scary future won't happen. If I asked your 5 closest friends your superpower, what would they say?
Ooh, superpower. I think probably energy. I think maybe, energy, optimism, positivity. I think that's like, being able to walk into a room and just like, I don't want to say light it up, but walk into a room and just talk to somebody and then make their day, because that is something I work on, because I know how awkward it can be to not know somebody, or how awkward it can be to, because growing up, and this is from my childhood, I didn't speak English until I was 5 or 6 years old. So I learned English in school, in elementary school. And those first year was really scary because I didn't know the language. I didn't have many friends. I felt very alone as a little kid.
in kindergarten in those first years. But I ended up making really good friends as it turns out, as long as I can speak the language, which is English. as soon as you can speak the language of the people around you, it's easy to make friends. And so that has kind of grown and adapted and evolved in my adult life of speaking the language is not just English. It's like speaking this person's emotions and speaking to who they are as a person. And that's something I try really hard. Like, lots of things I do, I just do because I want to do it. But in this scenario, I really try to work at that. And so bringing that positivity in a room and being able to have a conversation with somebody is that. And then I wish I could fly. If I get to pick a superpower, I would love to be able to fly. But no, I think bringing the energy and the positivity into a room is what my 5 closest friends would say.
If I could give you one compliment, every time I see you, I feel there's a warmth, there's an energy, and there's a likability there as well. You instantly make me smile. That's why I went down the rabbit hole. And just before the interview, I was watching your Gabfest as well. I was like, what are you doing? You're speaking to him, and I was like, oh no, I've only got 2 minutes left. And I'm like, I just genuinely enjoy listening to you. And so I think you're nailing that, buddy. And you come off like such an awesome person. And yeah, without blowing too much smoke up your bum, I think.
Oh, yeah, I know you're giving me this big old head. Dean, you're awesome.
So if people want to find more about you and StoragePug, where would they go? And we'll link all this.
The number one place is storagepug.com. For if you want a website, go to storagepug.com and get in touch with us. But if you're a new operator and you're not ready for a website, that's okay. There's a ton of free stuff. It's storagepug.com/resources. In fact, I invite you to start your journey there. Just go to storagepug.com/resources and there's videos, there's ebooks. That Google My Business guide that I talked about earlier is on there. There's dozens and dozens of free resources that will get you on your journey. Or if you're brand new to storage, but if you've been in storage for a long time and you just want to like resharpen those skills, you're not just going to be hearing from me. Mostly you're hearing from other experts who have great advice that I learn something new every time I bring a new guest on the screen. So storagepug.com/resources. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, my email is super easy, tommy@storagepug.com.
Excellent. I'll link all that in the show notes. Tommy, thank you so much for your time. You've been so generous, buddy. I really, really appreciate it.
Dean, thank you for having me, and I look forward to either seeing you in Vegas or Nashville or hopefully in the UK. So hopefully they lift all the travel restrictions and we can see each other and give each other a big hug.
The first chance I get to leave the country, buddy, I am on that plane and I am going somewhere. I will be at the next conference, wherever it is in America. I can't wait, buddy.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks, Dean.